Hi, my name is Lohit and welcome. Now this is a really special video because this is the first interview on this channel and I have with me Jishnu Chatterjee, who is the main title designer and the motion designer for the popular web series Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta Story. It's the same Scam 92 which everybody in India and outside India have been going crazy about. It's the same Scam 92 which has been rated highest on IMDb with a rating of 9.6 out of 10. Yes. So if you have watched it, you would know how amazing this web series is because every aspect of this web series is just top notch. Let it be the acting of the cast or the cinematography or the dialogues or the music or the title sequence, everything is just awesome. So if you haven't watched it, you must definitely watch it. It's a 10 episode mini series streaming on Sony Live or Sony Live. So do watch it, otherwise you wouldn't really understand what this video or this interview is about. Or at least I would recommend you to watch the title sequence, which is the introduction which you see in each episode. Because in this interview, I'll be talking more about that. Because since I am a video editor and a designer, I was more curious about the process that went into making the title sequence, and I got in touch with Jishnu Chatterjee, who explained and gave some insights into making of the title sequence of this web series. So I had a great time talking to him and I hope you have a great time listening to our conversation too. If you are here for the first time, do look at the other videos on this channel and make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Thank you. So this is a pretty long conversation because I had a lot of questions to ask. So I had to break it down to two parts. So after watching this part, make sure you watch the second part of this conversation also. I hope you have a great time listening to this conversation. Thank you. Hi Jishnu, thank you so much for doing this. It really means a lot, and I am excited to have you on this podcast. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm still reeling from all the response that I'm getting for scam. Didn't expect that, but yeah, good times, I guess.
Definitely. I have a lot of questions related to that. We'll get to that soon. But first of all, I wanted to ask you one question. The Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta Story, it's the highest ever rated show on IMDb, like ever, not just in India, all over the world, with a rating of 9.6 out of 10. So, how does it feel to be a part of the team of that show?
Oh man, it's epic. I mean, yeah, of course, IMDb ratings aren't everything, of course, and it can be a little bloated at times, but regardless, it's probably one of the best Indian shows that have ever been made. And I just feel very proud that a very good Indian show is getting that kind of visibility all over the world. Like regardless of whether it's the best show of all time or not, it's at least it's getting that platform. It's like global audiences are getting to see that show. That okay, what's this show about? And it's getting that kind of visibility. That's great. So I'm really proud to be a part of a project that's kind of bringing India to the forefront on that level, which is pretty cool.
That's great. That's great. Congratulations to the whole team on that. While you are working on this project, or even before working on this project, you might have looked at a few glimpses, or while doing the work, you might have did you watch the show before it was actually released?
I did.
Okay.
So before I began work on my on the title sequence, I got to watch like a half finished version of the entire show.
Okay, great. So when you watched it, did you? What was your reaction? Like, what did you feel like? Were you expecting this kind of response when you watched it?
Honestly, yes, I was Jay Mehta, the co-director, he was my point of contact. So I was kind of like figuring everything out with him only, and like we were talking about the platform that it's a Sony Live show, but Sony Live obviously isn't like let's say Netflix or Amazon, and it's not as widespread, right? It's not as widely consumed. And Jay was like, "This is a really good show," and I agreed. Like it's epic. It was really good. Even at that half finished stage, you could tell that there is something here. And he was like, if only we had a better platform of sorts. But then I was like, I don't think it matters. When a show is that good, people will find it, and that's exactly what happened. I'm really happy that it did. That people found out about it. And that's great, man. So I think, yeah, in a way, I sort of knew it was good, but I didn't expect it to be this big. I knew it was going to be one of the greats in Indian like Indian shows, at least, like, yeah.
Definitely, it did reach out. Like it was trending massively after a few days of its release, and people were recommending to each other to definitely watch it. So we'll get to more on a Scam 92 later. Before that, I wanted to ask a few questions on your previous projects and your personal projects. Yeah, you said that you are 24 years and you graduated recently from college. So when you were in college, what was your preparation, or what was in your brain, or what did you want to do in the future?
Well, in college, I had no clue. I was just, like, for as long as I can remember, I've been wanting to do something in the domain of films and, just cinema in general. Like, that's something that has always moved me. But in college, I was all thumbs, man. I mean, I did graphic design as my graduation, but I really wanted to pursue films, but I also didn't want to do films all the time, so I wanted the best of both worlds. Like, I like graphics also, but I also like films, so I was kind of like, I didn't belong to any place really. But then thankfully there were like a couple of projects that let me explore these different domains, like motion graphics, as you would call it. My college didn't offer any courses as such to really explore it in depth. So that's something that me and a couple of friends, we would just experiment on some personal projects, or we would try to take some commercial projects, and that's how I would get into all of this. I never actually planned to get here in this way. Definitely not. I thought I was gonna do like graphic design and just do graphic design things. I suppose I didn't have a plan at all. I just ended up here. But now that I'm here, like, there's no other place I would rather go.
I did see your portfolio and your other works. You had like a great portfolio even during college and even during high school. I could see that you are doing some great stuff and working on some amazing things. Two of your major works that you have previously worked is one is Bhoot, starred by Vicky Kaushal, which released this year, and the other one is Raktanchal, Indian TV show, which also released during summer the same this year. So I want to know what was the experience. Booth was a different kind of horror film, and Raktanchal is a crime TV show based on UP scenario. So I wanted to know briefly what was the breakdown, or what did you think while working on it, or what was your process while working on both first?
Sure. So for Bhoot, we did. If you've seen the movie or the publicity around the movie, it was the first time that an Indian production house, Dharma, this time, Dharma Productions, actually had a different kind of logo animation, which is very particular in a lot of blockbuster movies that have that they come with their own custom logo animation just to put get you into the mood, set the tone of the film to follow. So that's something that I always liked.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that. Just a minute. I just wanted to ask that. I did see that logo animation thing. Usually, Dharma has their own, since it's a big brand, they have their logo. So, whose idea was it? And was it your idea, or was it their idea to get into that mood of the horror genre? Like you did create a different
Honestly,
style, right?
right. I don't remember if it was like at the time I was working at a studio with my like my mentors who are from Plexus, Vijay Rajan and Yashoda Parsati. Now they were handling the concept. They were the leads on those on that project. I was the CG person. Like I did all the motion design and everything. The concept and direction was from their side. So I'm not sure if they pitched the idea or if it was something that the Dharma people had in mind. So I won't be able to tell you that. But all I know is once the idea started flowing, then we were very sure. Like even though people at Dharma were very sure that they wanted to make this happen. So yeah, it was pretty interesting, man. Like it was cool for us to kind of take something so iconic. I mean, everybody knows the Dharma Productions, that tune, that melody. Like whenever that comes on screen, it's just you've seen it so many times. Like take Yash Raj films, this, like all of these are iconic, right? So just to rework that that was an honor, like because it's also because it hasn't been done before. So we got to kind of play around with the logo files and everything and just try to represent it in a new way. Yeah, that was cool. Then Raktanchal is the other thing that I got to work on. That was technically my first solo title sequence where I it was just me working on the project. Now that was pretty hard actually because it was I had to do it in I think around roughly like 2 weeks, maybe maximum 3 weeks, start to finish. So yeah, that was tight. So there was no storyboard process for that. There was no mood boarding. It was just like here's some footage, get a feel for the show, understand what it's about. It's about like they told me it's about three things. It's in around that time it was all about guns, violence, bloodshed,
Yeah.
and coal. Ton of coal. There's mines there. It's all about deeds, your the contracts and all that, like lease on land, all of these papers and all that. So I was just like, I literally took those things and I I tried to make them as physical as I possibly could. So it was just a trial. Like it would have worked or it wouldn't have. But it did on some level because that's the reason I got scammed, like because I was able to deliver that in such a short period and like at the time I got scammed they were on a very tight deadline as well. They were like we need somebody to just finish this off. So yeah, one thing led to the other, but yeah.
So I wanted to ask about Scam 1992. How did you land on this project, or how did you get to know
Right.
this project? Did they approach you, or did you go to them?
So I got this through like my mentor who I mentioned earlier, Vijesh. He's the founder of Plexus Motion. They're the guys who did Sacred Games, title sequence. And he's obviously my mentor. He's been mentoring me for the past year or so since as soon as I got out of college. And like right now we're not working together in that capacity, but he's obviously like one of my best friends in the industry and everything. So he was just looking out for me. There was Jay, the co-director of Scam. They go way back, so they're friends. So he was on the lookout for somebody to do the motion design, and Vijesh suggested me, and then we started like talking, and I think we really hit it off from the first conversation itself. When it just clicks. You're talking about the same things, you have the same references. It just works. You get each other. So after that, it was just smooth sailing from that point on.
Yeah, and when was this? When did it start? Like, when did it get to you?
It actually, I think it happened in June. I think yeah, like late June or something. It was done in 2 months though. Like after that, we were just doing other stuff for the show. Like so, the title sequence itself was done in 2 months.
Generally, people tend to skip title sequence, but when this show was released, people didn't skip that because first one of the reasons was definitely the music was amazing, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about the music too. The second thing is definitely the graphics. At least I coming from a design background on this animation VFX background. I was awestruck while watching it. Like initially, I didn't get the whole idea, but during the second episode, I think I got the whole story of the whole 10 episodes when I watched that. First of all, what was the idea behind the colors? You chose like green and black. People in not very often we look those colors in sequences in at least Indian shows. So what went into your mind while choosing that color scheme?
Well, so initially, like the when I watched the show, it didn't come with a title sequence or anything of that sort. The music was there, so that's one thing that was set before I even joined the project. The music was done, so it was just the music and no visuals to go along with it. So for me, it was a task to kind of figure out because if you've seen the show by itself doesn't have a lot of strong visual themes in that way because it's very grounded, right? It's very realistic. There is no glamorous elements in the whole show. Even when like Harshad Mehta is at his peak in the show, it's still not a lot of glitz and glamour like you'd expect in a Bollywood movie uh, of sorts. So it's very down to earth. It's very realistic. It's very human. So, but that again doesn't really it doesn't translate into into the music and the tone of the music and the just the kind of impact the title sequence is supposed to have, right? So I figured that the title sequence needs to have a contrast with regards to the show in that way. Like it should be what you're thinking in your head. It should be larger than life. It should be that grandiose, like the dreams that you have. The delusions of grandeur that these people generally have. So we figured ki one thing that I absolutely did not want to do was have any kind of numbers, because that just felt too easy. Like, okay, stonks, like, you have numbers, you have the profits hai to bhai number dal do. Money, numbers. The show is chock full of that. Even at an early stage, you could see, oh, obviously this guy's going to look at numbers all day long. So I didn't want the title sequence to also have numbers. So then I was like, okay, what's the next best thing to kind of depict numbers, like positive numbers that are in favor of your gain? That's the color green, and those are those, rising, like the stock prices or whatever. It's just a graph. It's a bar graph. Now that's abstract enough to really not mean anything in particular, but also it, like if the chart is rising, it's a very clear indication of what it means. And green is the color of money
Yeah.
globally. Doesn't matter what color your currency is exactly. Green is the color of money. So I figured that kind of makes sense, because this guy is something. He's not even chasing wealth. He's chasing the ability to make money, which is kind of crazy to me, because throughout the show, like just based on the show, I'm saying, he didn't have any vices. He wasn't into, like, if he was really about being the wealthiest man, he would have done a lot of other things. He would have like maybe invested in a lot of different things. But no, he just stayed in the same risky game till the end of his life, just because he liked the game so much, right? So I think that's what I thought should be the central theme. And also on a note of the color, like the green, initially we thought we would tone all the colors down to make it look like it was something made in the 90s, give that retro aesthetic. But then once, like me and all the directors also, once we saw that green and how it was cutting through the monochromes, like it's just sharp, right? It's very sharp. It just cuts through all the drab colors. Then I think we were just like, we just liked it too much. We're like, screw it, like let it be what it is. And that kind of lend uh, lent a lot of visual language to the rest of the other packaging also of the show. It kind of that dictated the whole green, black and white theme of Scam. which happened later. So even the title design happened along with the title sequence only. That's how it worked.
I wanted to ask one thing. There are so many characters in this show, and each of them has their own prominence. Sucheta Dalal, or even Pradeep Harshad Mehta's character, or all the characters have their own importance. But uh, what was the reason behind having only like the title sequence was entirely revolved around Harshad Mehta? So, what was
Correct.
your idea behind that?
Right. So now, ideally, you're right. There should have been like some at least reference to Sucheta Dalal, and I guess those are the two main characters in the show. Honestly, like if you really boil it down, it's just a fight between the two of them, like cat and mouse, and something like that. So that should have been there, but I figured like it would kind of be counterintuitive also, because the whole book is about Sucheta Dalal kind of figuring out, unraveling like the life of Harshad Mehta and kind of noting it down, right? Yeah. So even though we like a lot of the show is we see it from different perspectives, from Sucheta Dalal's perspective, or like a number of other characters. The backbone of the whole story, the timeline of the whole story is still purely Harshad Mehta. As the name suggests, that it's his tale. It's almost like a fable. Like that's how I thought the title sequence should be like. It's like the stories that are told around campfires, something like that, like the legend of Harshad Mehta, like how far he rose and how far he fell. The
Yeah.
same thing. So
That's one beautiful thing that I watched in the whole title sequence. Like there were you showed like he was coming from a everybody, like he's a common man like everybody, and then he rose to all the heights, and then he crashed. So I loved the whole idea behind that sequence, and after watching the entire episodes, I went to watch the title sequence again, and then found out that okay, पूरा स्टोरी तो इधर ही है, like every like the entire story was in the title sequence. So I loved the way you totally planned it out.
glad, man, glad.
And there are a couple of things like the chain sequence was obviously like he was hanged down to all the troubles that he had. There was this small bit where you showed the bomb blast in the building thing. So what was that reference to?
Right. So that was, I mean, initially the idea was to just show the building like crumbling, like a controlled demolition, like how those work, where it's just a plume of smoke. Usually, you don't see the explosions happening. But then this I blame on Achint. And if he didn't make such a banger track, I wouldn't have to blow things up, like just to keep up with the track. Like it was just whatever I would do, and believe me, I did a lot of iterations. It just never worked until something blew up. It's just Achin's track. I had to blow something up just to keep up with it. But the idea behind it was all faulty foundations. That's like he built his empire on faulty foundations. Obviously, because it was lie after lie, right? That was the whole idea, that this sandcastle in the air, it doesn't have any real foundation, right? So it's bound to, like, and there were people plotting against him. Like the idea was that the other bank cartels that were already predominant, they couldn't see that, they didn't like to see that this guy was towering above all of them, when they were ruling the game for so long. So maybe it's a ploy of some sort, but yeah, that's what happened. They blew the legs right off from under him. That's what happened, and he fell down naturally.
Definitely, it did perfectly come out great, and I just wanted to know what went through behind the title sequence. Uh, and talking about music, everybody is grooving to that 1 minute track that Achin has made. I wanted to ask this to a fellow or a professional editor. Do you generally have the music already edited and then work on that, or do you work on the sequence and then create the music according to sequence?
Okay. So that's an interesting question, because it varies from project to project. Like for Scam, for example, the whole track was done. It's been done for 1.5 years.
Wow.
Like so long before I joined, it's done. So I like in fact when Jay was pitching the project to me, he like gave me a synopsis of the project and he sent me the track. Like he track the one guy. So I was like, that's epic. The track sold me more than the synopsis from day one. I was like, I have to make something on this. So yeah, for in that case, that's super helpful, because it's if it's already a banging track, then you don't have to worry about whether this will match with that or not. You already know. So there's I have it in my notes somewhere. We planned for every single second right from the start. So when you're talking about CG, every extra scene is extra effort, extra time, and if it's not going to work out, then you really don't have anything that you can do. Actually, give me a second. I'll just show you. Yeah,
Definitely.
I'll just show you the notes that I have for. I think it's pretty interesting. We kind of yeah. I don't know if you can see it.
It's a little blurry. Uh,
Yeah, but basically those are
I,
all timestamps.
yeah, I got
Those
the.
are all timestamps. Yeah, so it's like from 8 seconds to 11 seconds, we'll have this happen. And that kind of helped us figure out how many things to make, how many scenes we can even have, you know. So based on that, we kind of work backwards from the music to the story and what all we can fit.
Wow.
So that's an interesting workflow. But then in another project like Raktanchal, for example, there was no sound. There wasn't even a reference. It was just a time, like a duration. There's 15 seconds you have, make something. I'm like, I need something. Like it's a title sequence. How can I work without music, right? So he's like, you can use the director for that shows. Like you can use whatever you want. So I said, then you guys have to get your sound designer to work on my terms. Like based on my pacing. So the one interesting fact about that is I actually used the Mandalorian soundtrack, the Mandalorian theme. If you know about the show, yeah, that was the tone, that was the pace for the Raktanchal this thing, because it's also Western, right? It's an Indian Western in a way, so that the pace fit perfectly. And for this show also, like when I was obviously Achin's thing was like a much more final stage, right? It's got like there's beats everywhere, so every time something doesn't sync, even in your head when you're trying to see it before you make it, it feels off. So sometimes what I like to do is I like to have these theme songs in my head just as a feeler for the whole thing. It doesn't have to be the final track, but it's what gets you in the mood, keeps you in that place. Sometimes you have to think for a while, right? So I just keep playing it on loop. Like the Mandalorian theme was that for Raktanchal. I even edited it to the Mandalorian theme. That's what I sent them as the final thing. Then they made the composed a theme over that. But for this, uh, what did I use? Oh yeah, I used a bunch of for Scam. I used the James Bond openers, man. That was my reference, 100%. Like you can tell by the slow motion if you like look back on it.
I'll
That was so
probably try to
easy.
put that track
Yeah,
and try to play that once. I wonder how that
yeah,
sounds.
yeah. Like take Skyfall and actually the new one.
No,
What's the new one called?
no time to die.
No time. Yeah, no time to die. Yeah, that was like I probably listened to that like 25 times in a row one night. I was like, and it just clicked, man. Before that, I had nothing. I was really screwed before that. So I kind of owe it to that song to kind of just figure out the vibe, and then we could like in the edit we could kind of put it to Achin's track, keep it to that pace. But for just just jiving with the idea, yeah, it sometimes helps to have. It's different for different people. Some people will probably look at a painting and go that way. Some people will look at a photograph. Some people will look at a movie. For me, it's a song. There's one song for every project that kind of is the theme.
To click that creative block. Yeah, even I edit videos sometimes, and have I don't have any reference point, because even movies maybe you get these reference points and you can edit them, but when you are working for a commercial or any other personal project, you don't have reference points. So
Right, right.
sometimes I listen a whole entire day to only music to get started on the project. So yeah, I do understand it, but I'll try this tip that you have given to try working with different theme musics and try to get the idea. This is a really helpful tip, I would say, and I'll definitely try that. That's the end of the first part. See you soon on the second part.